Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I'd love to do a long intro. There's a few things I want to talk about, but I am strapped for time. So instead of doing the lightning round, I want to get right into the Q&A this week. So shout out to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. They don't have to, they choose to. All my content is available for free here on YouTube. Any extra support is appreciated, but never expected. Same with the super chats on YouTube itself. But with that, like I said, I'm behind, so let's get right into the Q&A. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hope all is going well with you. Same to you right back. My question is about how you usually organize your thoughts when you make a guide for a game, particularly when it's a single player game. Do you just play through the game and take notes on topics you think would make a good guide, or do you set out with a general idea? I don't do single player guides very often. Most of the time, I stay as in the dark as I can, and then after I've played it, I go, okay, what would have made a good guide? And then I'll go back and do it. Generally, I would say if you've played a type of game before, you should approach it by saying, okay, I know this thing is in here. Or, for example, let's say you run into a collectible for the first time. You should immediately start marking down where the collectibles are, or where a specific weapon type is, or whatnot. Me, fortunately, since I live stream almost all the games that I play, I can also look back at the footage and be like, okay, I remember finding it there, and then find the footage itself and go back. But I don't do very many single player ones, so most of the time I'll beat the game. I'll think, okay, what would have made a good guide? Go back through my footage and get everything I need. Maybe even record some new stuff by playing through either a second time or a chapter select, and then gather the footage that way. If I feel like I'm missing something, I'll cross-reference with something that's like written on one of the generic sites just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But that's about it. Hashtag Happy Mondays, happy with Happy, Mr. Happy, happy. I say I'm in a rush, and then I go, that. No, it's good. Salutations, Happy. Hello. Hope all is well, that you randomly incur some luck this week. Well, let me tell you, I could use some luck this week. You've inspired me to start a fitness journey. Hey, I'm supposed to be at the gym right now, but I had a bit of a disaster in the apartment, and I need to wait a little bit before I go. I'm one of the typical MMO gamers that work in front of a PC and then game in front of one too. I won't ramble on, but I know just know you've had a positive influence on your audience, so I'm glad that I've managed to do that. I thought for some reason I thought the question was going to be fitness related when I read that. My 14th question for you today is, what is the best form of developer feedback? Mrhappy and I often talk about things how Rival Wings and Crystalline Conflict need to be daily roulettes, how Mahjong client should be revamped. I mean, they'll tell you the forums. If it's a big enough topic, then it usually transcends the forums and pops up everywhere, and they see that. But otherwise, I mean, the feedback forums is the only accurate answer. Whether or not that leads to anything is a whole nother story, but I mean, that's the only place to really put it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Haps. Hey, Haps. Hi. Props to you for the progress you made at the gym. Yeah, again, today's chest day too, and I'm trying to do chest day on Sunday, because if you do chest day on Monday, everyone's at the gym, and it's a disaster. Got a few questions for you. Sounds good. What jobs do you think Ivy and Aloha would have in-game? Dragoon and Dragoon. They're both so dumb, they would just die. So Dragoon. With the expansion's locations being based on real-world cultures and religions or regions, is there a part of the world you'd like to see referenced in-game? I mean, the Americas, I was always really... Realistically, I always just want to see everything. There's no one in particular I feel like I really need to see. But the Americas and Australia, and those are kind of the two places left to go. We know we're going to the Americas with the New World, so then I'll just have to wait on Mrhappy. And I was thinking about the Eden raids and how they remixed the Realm Reborn bosses. If they're a boss, you'd be open to seeing something similar. They've been remixing bosses for years. I mean, Phoenix in Pandemonium is a remix of the Phoenix back from turn 12. I mean, we've had rematches against different forms of Bahamut with, you know, Lunar Bahamut and then the Bahamut in the Dream World. And we get rematches in some capacity, not too infrequently. No, again, it's kind of the same thing. I always would rather see something brand new. But if it is going to be a rematch or you know, a different take on something, then I just want it to be good. I'm very simple in that I don't ask a lot of specifics unless I feel like those specifics are beneficial to a lot of people, and then I just hope for good stuff. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well. Same to you. Long time. No question. So have a returning question bonus of one more year of Blitz. All right, I don't want to answer this anymore. Something that's been bugging me about Praetorium is that I could have sworn all the cutscenes had voice work overdone for them back in 2.0. No, they didn't. Only the Gaius scene and Onward all had voice acting. So yeah, no, that's a Mandela effect thing, as you say here. No, the whole Nero scene not been voiced. I remember at some point I had this same thought, but I mean, I had this thought back in like Stormblood when I randomly did like MSQ. Like, oh, I thought this was voiced for some reason. No, it's not. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi, longtime viewer. Thank you for enjoying the content. Thank you for all of your content. No, thank you for watching it. I just said that. Been a while since I asked you a question. With Dawn Trail trending closer and closer, you stated that melee DPS will more than likely lose positionals, meaning there will be no need for True North. So quick question, do you think they will replace True North with a new utility to keep the count of abilities the same? No, I think they'll be glad to be one more ability down. They're always trying to prune something so they can make room for job-specific stuff, and I think they'll be glad to have that gone. Follow-up question, what's the utility you think melee would benefit from having? I think all of them having some form of defensive shield is pretty much expected. Like, Dragoon only having a life surge as their, like, I guess, heal myself kind of, and, you know, and second win in Bloodbath, but I mean, like, a job-specific thing. It's just when you look at Monk with Riddle of Earth, even the new Riddle of Earth, which isn't nearly as exciting, you look at Reaper with the shield, with the AoE regen, and then you look at Dragoon, and it's like, I have life surge. So I think that's the big thing, is they all need somewhat of an equivalent defensive cooldown. Or what I'm saying is Dragoon needs something better than Life Surge as a defensive cooldown. They can keep Life Surge, but like something else needs to happen there. So that's really the big thing. I think that would be universal across the melee. Hashtag Happy Monday. Hello, Happy. Hi. I've been listening to a lot of the discourse lately from content creators about the state of Endwalker. Keep in mind, I haven't said a whole lot about this. I could make a video about this, and I'm sure people would be okay. I mean, we did talk about it on State of the Realm, but I was quite jovial throughout that episode. I was wondering why crafters and gatherers in general are never mentioned, really. They have a relic like the battle jobs, so these jobs are not worth caring about. No, because it's all macros. The crafters and gatherers are not like... There's nothing like Ishgard to involve them in, so it's just like standard crafter and gatherer stuff, and there's not really a whole lot of commitment to the game that's required for them this expansion. So yeah, it's not that they're not worth mentioning, it's that they have the same woes, so we can just talk about the state of things in general, and they're just kind of lumped in automatically as long as you're aware of kind of what you're listening to and like what's available for all the jobs in the game at the moment. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. I hope you're doing well. I'll take that as a hello, and I hope you're doing well also. I just finished the demo for Star Ocean Second Story R. Star Ocean 2 is one of my top 5. I've heard that from a lot of people. I plan on getting to that demo in the next week because I'm finishing up Lies of P right now, which is fantastic. Highly recommend it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. There's also, what is it? Silent, I can't remember. It's another, it's an Xseed RPG. It's like Silent something. And then there's Star Ocean, and then there's one other demo that I can't remember. Dragon Quest Monsters. That's the other one I have to get to. Have you or do you plan on playing the full demo, full game? Yeah, Star Ocean, I've never really been super deep into it. I've only played 5 and 6. And a little bit of 1, which I actually loved the bit of 1 that I played. So the answer is a hopefully, but my schedule is going to be kind of packed, so I just need to kind of wait till around the time it's coming out to say for certain. Demo, yeah. Full game, hopefully, but we'll see, because it's right at the start of November, and I have a somewhat busy, already planned October, and then November has Super Mario RPG, but that's like 2 weeks later, so it's a matter of if I feel like I need the time in between the stuff I'm doing in October and Super Mario RPG to get something else that's more important done, in which case I would still probably shelve it and save it for a later date. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Only one Monday. Well, I mean this Monday. That's accurate. Hello. Hi. Hope you're well. You too. Based on past releases, could you make an educated guess when Q and chest restrictions will be removed from Anabasios? Oh, for some reason, I read Anabasios and my brain went to Asphodelos. I'm dumb. Yeah, no, that's probably not until March, if I had to guess. I don't want it to be March. I would prefer it to be in the next month or two. And I hate to say it, but March is my educated guess. Hashtag Happy Mondays with Happy. That's me. Hello and hi there. Those are 2 hellos. Do they cancel out? No, they don't. Hello. I'm curious about your thoughts on the recent boss nerfs in Armored Core 6 from the patch this morning. Oh, so I didn't talk about that yet. I haven't read it. I've only heard that they did it. And I think... So having played through Armored Core 6, there are some bosses I would have buffed and some bosses I would have nerfed. I think the helicopter, the rate at which it moves in the tutorial mission was worthy of a nerf. So because the average person getting into Armored Core 6 for the first time was not prepared for even that very basic helicopter fight. The end of the chapter 1 boss as well Okay, so I'm gonna guess the bosses because I don't know which ones have been nerfed. I'd assume the tutorial boss has been nerfed. The end of chapter 1 boss has been nerfed. The rematch against the end of chapter 1 boss, when you go down a certain story path that you fight way later, it's like the second to last boss on one of the paths later on. And then maybe small changes to the chapter 2 boss. I don't think so. Maybe the final boss going down the path of destruction, I think. That's what I call it. I don't want to spoil anything more. I'm just going to call it the path of destruction. And then the boss at the end of chapter 4. Those are the only real bosses I think needed nerfs. And anything more than that I think is excessive given the type of game that they're playing. But they went a little bit hard on some of the bosses, and you really have to dive into specific weapons to make those bosses as playable as possible. So it discourages like build diversity a little bit. And that's a big thing that you don't want to take away. It's one of the reasons why past Armored Core games never really had this issue. Like, yeah, there were always weapons that were absolutely best. You'll see them in speedruns. But you never really needed to nerf like the massive MT from Armored Core 3, for example, because no matter what your build was, there was a clear path to victory. Your weapon that you chose, automatically determined what your path to victory was. When they went for the more Souls-like bosses in Armored Core, that kind of pulls away from that because it almost feels like some bosses are designed to be beaten by some weapons. And I don't think there's a problem with that either. I like being encouraged to try different stuff, but there are a lot of people who like to commit to a build once they've gone to it. And that can be mildly frustrating to just see someone with one different weapon obliterate something and all they're doing is holding down the shoot button and you're like really focused on the actual core elements of the boss and the encounter itself. So I haven't seen that, but I should actually take a look and maybe I'll make a video on it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Technically it's MWMH. Hello. Hi. Hope you're having a great day. Wish I could say I was, but it's been a heck of a day. I'll say it that way. Excuse me, my language. I've been thinking about what the new caster job will be mechanically. I don't think it's going to be much of anything unique at all. No, I mean, I think you're going to be able to look at another job and be like, oh, it's kind of like that, is what I mean by that. I suspect the hope will be something innovative, but if it is, I'm trying to think of what they do. Thought back to other MMOs and RPGs. The glaringly, obviously missing mechanic is a damage over time caster. Yeah, we had that. It was Summoner, and they got rid of it. I mean, everyone wants them to go back to the damage over time caster because now they've removed so many dots from other jobs in the game. And they've they've shown before that with Summoner, they have the ability to make it so that dots, you can quickly access them when you need them. Like we've seen that iteration of Summoner. So I would like to see that, but I think they still find some of their own problems with balancing the dots, but I will always hope for its return. The reason given for the removing of dots is a lot of dots were put into the game initially because they didn't really have that much in the way of job mechanics yet. I think every job had a thing, but there wasn't like a job gauge or like a super deep identity for anything. It was basically just you had these combos that you wanted to do in this order, and that was the end of it. Now, we have, 2-minute timings, and there's like job gauges and building this up by using this skill and like life window drifts and like all sorts of things that essentially just buy into that whole 2-minute meta. So the reason they removed dots initially because there were too many dots. They were just the debuffs on monsters and 24-mans were filling up to the point where people couldn't apply dots. And they couldn't even display all the debuffs that were there, and then things were getting lost. It was just constantly breaking on the back end, and then that would make it break on the front end. On top of that, again, they just had them for maintenance. So they got rid of some that were just there for maintenance sake, for job maintenance, for gameplay maintenance. And then they just kind of kept getting rid of them because they seemed so arbitrary for a lot of jobs that they had them on. Now, for Summoner, I don't think we really know the true answer to that. It might have just been that they gauged that if there were too many Summoners, it was going to be a problem with the way they had designed it. In something like a 24-man or maybe in like Eureka or Boja style content. But that being said, I want them to go back. I think they've removed so many at this point that adding a proper one in is probably something they could go back to. I don't think they will, but I would like to see them do it. And I even think they're going to prune a couple more dots. I think Bard's going to go down to 1 dot next expansion. And again, at that point, I just feel like you've opened the door to make one job that relies on this crucial gameplay mechanic. Hashtag Mondays with Happy Mr. Happy. Hi. Hello there. Hi. Hope you're doing well as I can be. Do you have any idea for the next Alliance Raid 7.0? Somebody asked me this, I think, a week or two ago. No, there's literally no way to predict or even begin to think about that. I don't like to make actual predictions without context. If there's nothing to base something off of, like, yeah, could I say, oh, I want it to be this, and could it be right? Sure. I mean, anything imaginary can become real. It only takes somebody to actually make it real. But I don't care that much, I suppose, to predict it in the first place, because I'll find out what it is long before I ever play it anyway. So it's just like, whatever they tell me it is, I want to judge it based on that instead of building a hope or an expectation, not getting it, and then judging it after the fact. It just doesn't register to me as like a good way to go about it. So no, there's no way to guess it or base it on anything. It's just, that's it. That's the thought. You know, somebody asked me what my favorite movie was in one of the comments. Somebody asked me that the other day, and I don't have a way of doing that. Favorites for anything is tough because I need favorites within a category. Because I don't judge, like, let's say Billy Madison against Passion of the Christ. Like, I'm not comparing those and saying which one I think is the better movie. I'm not watching Billy Madison because it's a great movie, like the plot is really good, and I'm watching it because it's Adam Sandler in his prime. And if I'm watching Passion of the Christ, I'm not expecting to crack up laughing at it. You know, like, just the expectations are completely different. That's true in games, movies, songs. I can sometimes narrow it down, but most of the time it's arbitrary for me. Anyway, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Actually, I could think of a question. Okay, I guess this is a comment from another comment. Yeah. Okay, well then I'll assume the other comment said hello, because this seems to be like a second comment in the other comment somewhere else. There seem to be more complaints about what it's like to play as a healer in more recent times. Maybe I just didn't pay attention until recently, but it seems to me the issues were exacerbated by Shadowbringer's job changes. But I recall the job retrospectives didn't really seem like healers had that much more DPS options outside of cleric stance. As someone who has played longer, do you have any sense of whether there was actually much meaning? No, there was just more than 2 buttons. There was like 3 or 4, which is not like crazy more engaging, but going from 3 or 4 down to 2 is, you know, that's half the buttons that you were pressing before. And you notice that over the course of an encounter. So that's really the only question. But no, cleric stance was the most meaningful difference. And it was honestly just kind of a pain. It got more people killed than it ever made the game more engaging, in my opinion. Especially in the early days where Scholar just would lush straight through it because it was a percentage-based heal. And now what would happen is White Mage would Benediction through it because that would be a full HP heal. And so, yeah, no. It wasn't that much more meaningful, but it was more meaningful. And that's the point. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, hello, and good evening. Extras, just in case. Good, because I think there was one question I read that I didn't end up answering because it was hurting my brain that didn't have a hello. So it worked out. I was wondering if they ever plan on adding Cloud Sword into the game for Glamour. I mean, you have to assume anything from the Final Fantasy franchise is an eventuality. Yeah, that's how I think of things with Final Fantasy XIV. If it's in Final Fantasy, anywhere in the franchise, it is possible to be done in 14. So that's all there really is. If they're ever adding a full skip option, no. They're not ever adding a full skip for those. So that's, you're just going to be... It is to stop people from harassing new players, but other people have said like, oh, they can make it so if you're with a full party that people have already cleared it. They don't want to add that. They don't want to have to build a whole system just for 3 old instances to check if everyone's done it so that you actually have the options. They don't want to rebuild because you do have to completely rebuild the code for that dungeon, for those dungeons and trials from the ground up to even make that work, and they don't want to do that. I don't blame them for not wanting to do that, but they don't want to do that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mono Days. I don't have mono. I haven't kissed anyone in a while. I better not have mono. Hi, Happy. Hi. Have you ever had a podcast with achievement hunters or talks about... Okay. I was thinking like the YouTube channel. No, because achievements in 14 aren't very interesting. Like, what is the discussion going to be? How long can you sit there and grind 10,000 mining nodes or 3 million ocean fishing points? Oh, I know the answer to that one. No, it's not an interesting topic because 14 achievements, there are some that are interesting, like the Blue Mage ones, for example. But no, they're nothing. They're just, can you sit there and grind said thing for X amount of time to get Y result? There's nothing fancy about that. What's my achievement score? I don't know. I think like 11,000 something. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Lally ho, haps. Lally ho. With Endwalker loosely following a Realm Reborn post-patch MSQ, with how much of a jump of a 13th arc leading into 7.0? Wait, with how much of a jump the 13th arc leading into 7.0 is, do you think 0.5 and 0.55 will have full length? No, I doubt it. Like, is it possible? Sure. I always have to say this. I don't work on the game. I can't say that it will or won't be away. I can only base it off of past pretense. Now, you are doing that because you're looking at a Realm Reborn. But no, I think we're past those days. I think the reason they did that back then wasn't because a Realm Reborn was not like other expansions, because the game was brand new and they felt like they had to do something super, super big at the end there to like move events forward with the overall story. Here, I think it's going to be very, very straightforward. We wrap up our Zeramis thing in 0.5 and we work on the Dawn Trail lead up in 0.55 and that's it. And I don't think they're any longer than usual. Hashtag Happy Mondays with Happy. Hi. I Feast Platinum Wolf here. Cool. I think locking the augmented Hellhound weapon skin behind diamond and higher ranks is a mistake. What's your take on it, if any? No, I prefer when there's rewards only the highest ranks in PvP can get. You got to remember that PvP at its core is competitive. Now, I do think that at the very least, you need to make those things very, very much quicker to get for the higher ranks. At the very least, that's the compromise you go for. You make it achievable at the lower ranks, but way slower. And they have shown this with the Feast stuff before Crystalline Conflict even came out. So, but I have always been a firm believer. You want the people who competed and expressed themselves to get to the top, the tippy top of this skill ladder. I mean, I reached Crystal. What does that say? I'm not a PvPer. At least the dedication to get there and grind it out should come with something that commemorates that. I don't think the adventure plate is enough. Quite frankly, I don't think the augmented weapon skin is worth a damn to anyone going into Crystal or Diamond. Like, is it glam? Cool? Is it like, I'm going to grind a Crystal over and over again because this new reward is there? No. So I honestly don't think that's enough. I think something more grandiose should be. What I've said is they should have a mount. And the mount should belong to the season. Remember, the season is just the ranked PvP mode. And then it has a different form of the mount for every different rank there is. So there's like, it's the exact same mount, but it's got the bronze banner, and then it's got the silver banner, and then it's got the gold banner, depending on what rank you actually ended at. That way, if you get the crystal banner for that particular tier, you're rocking that, and it's obvious, and it says that person was a crystal ranked player in the patch that came out. Or you make a series of mounts that require placement in certain ranks. So like, let's say that mount is not only for one season. Let's just say that is a mount that you can get if you have a token, like, let's see, a bronze token of commemoration, a silver token of commemoration, right? You get one, whatever rank you are at the end of the season, and then whatever mounts are actually on the shop, you can then purchase one. So it says that at some point you achieved said rank. It doesn't have to belong to a specific season. So like, there's all these little compromises you can make. But I'm perfectly okay with stuff being locked to the higher ranks. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hope you're doing well. You too. A lot of just hope you're doing well. Just like, it's a very common trend this week. I'm a relatively new player to 14, all things considered. Started about 6 months ago, and I've been steadily knocking out things I want to do, but haven't delved too much into current Savages or Ultimates as of yet. With the last patches of Endwalker releasing in the next few months, I was wondering what the rating scene during the time between expansions is generally like. Does Party Finder tend to go quiet? Still a lot of people trying to get their clears and re-clears. So, about now-ish is when things go quiet, and then they stay quiet-ish until the tier completely unlocks. Now, that does come with some downsides, because what ends up happening is people who don't normally raid on jobs tend to take them into the Party Finder during that time to practice them or work on their logs or whatever their reason is. but at least they're full, and at least that's the opportunity to learn. And it does mean that sometimes those same people do things like learning parties and teaching parties and all that kind of stuff. So once the tiers completely unlock, that is when the raid tier is at its healthiest post the raid tier's launch. And that's true of every raid tier. So probably that prediction I made earlier of March-ish, that would be when I think they would be the strongest. That's at least what I'm expecting. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Mr. Mad, Mr. Happy. I'm not mad at all. Can't you tell? This is the first tier I've started rating with a static and basically 14 as a whole. I've heard a lot of people saying that P10S is more difficult than the usual turn 2s by a lot. And that got me thinking about the overall difficulty of the tier compared to the previous ones. Is this tier more difficult, and what is this I should expect from future tiers? You have to kind of do that boss by boss. I think that some people would say P5S is harder than P9, and honestly, I would agree with them. P10 being harder than P6. P11 being roughly the same, maybe even, yeah, I think almost identical difficulty-wise, maybe even at some points easier than P7, as crazy as that is to sound. And then P12 and P8, kind of a tough comparison, but I think some people would say P8 is harder. So boss to boss, yeah, but it depends, because then there's usually just some high points and some low points. Normally the first two bosses in the first raid tier, for example, are very weak. The second and third boss in the second tier are usually very weak. And then the third tier is kind of a toss-up. I think it's fairly even, but just boss to boss, you know, the previous tier has some stronger and this tier has some that are stronger. That's my take. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. I assume a quick question. I'm just wondering, why do Astros have their little sheath thing around their waist? What purpose does it serve? Is that not where they keep their cards? I guess it depends. I haven't been on Astro in ages, so I don't really even look at it. But I think that's where their cards come from. At the very least, that's my best guess. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. So I've decided I was going to play through the MSQ and alt to fill the void of content until 7.0, and I've got a question. According to Regular, when you get to Azaslaw, they're trying to learn how Allag were able to capture primals alive. They were going to use that knowledge to stop the cycle of rebirth, but to my understanding, the primals are just versions of what people tribe summoning them, believe them to look like. Wouldn't you be able to summon one, capture it, then summon another? No, once one's summoned, you would have to summon something. You could summon like an Ifrit, for example, and then summon like an Ifrita, you know, like maybe if you just imagine it hard enough. But the problem is they're all so loyal. So like the Amalja in this case are so loyal to what their image of Ifrit is. Every time they summon Ifrit, it's exactly the same. And they can't re-summon the exact same Ifrit again once they've already summoned their ideal god. Nor do they want to. They're aware that their god exists and it's in the physical plane. So now their only goal is to serve it. That's like part of being tempered. They're not like tempered and then go, well, we'll just make another one. Fuck it. That's just not how their brain works when they're dealing with primals. You'd have to have somebody who could summon and simultaneously not be tempered. Essentially, we would have to be the ones responsible for doing what you've suggested. And even then, we'd probably have to have enough of a conscious effort to alter what it is we're believing in, because it's just, we need that separation in order to make sure that we can even summon another one in the first place. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. With the discourse in quotes right now, and if Endwalker is the worst, it's not. How important do you think what streamers and other content creators say is to the devs? They don't care. I can tell you right now, they don't care. It's not that they don't care. It's that it doesn't matter who you are. They understand that thoughts need to be widespread. And even then, the thoughts need to be cohesive and well explained and well expressed. Because if you just listen to anyone who's just going nuts, then that doesn't work. And some content creators absolutely just what's the word? Like you just can't understand what they're even trying to get across point wise. And that's not like feedback. That's just like an expression of emotion. It's when you can actually express something with exact points of feedback that becomes a potential hub location for other people's feedback. That's at most what ends up happening. So let's say I made a video that said, Endwalker rewards are perfectly fine. I put that out there. They don't care that I said that. They would then, if anything at all, look at my opinion, go, okay, that's his. How are people reacting to that opinion? If they see at the bottom, there's widespread acceptance of it, that's the feedback they would see. If under the video, they say it's a bunch of this dude is on crack cocaine the entire time, they would know that the video idea is not the opinion they should be looking at, but they now see what the general discourse is. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's what they do with content creators, but the point is, everywhere they do look for feedback, they're not weighing the voice of a creator over everyone else. But sometimes a creator does say something that's on point and everyone talks about it and it gets spread like wildfire. That is a means with which to make it seem like a creator influenced the decision that was being made. But it was only because so many people were receptive to it and accepting of it that it seems like a good enough idea to do in the game itself. So that's just generally how a good dev works. And that is how 14's devs have seemingly worked over the years and have expressed that that's how they work in things like interviews and live letters and whatnot. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Hello there, Happy. Hi. Going on the comment that you made about not making a video because you already thought you did you forget to make a P12S prog breakdown? I didn't forget. I just decided not to do it because the other videos did so poorly. Now, less of a joke question. With the new expansion, do you think there'll be any fights that couldn't be soloed from Stormblood able to be soloed with extra stats? Think that any Shadowbringers fights will be able to be soloed? Stormblood? No, I think everything that could be soloed in Stormblood has been soloed. Let's see. You can't solo 02. You can solo 01. You can solo 03. You can solo 04. You can solo... which one's 05 again? 05 is... What's it? It's escaping my mind who 05 is. Let's see. Guardian... Phantom Train. Yeah, Phantom Train's been soloed. The Painting's been soloed. 07 has been soloed. 08... has been soloed. I soloed that one. 09 was Chaos. Did I solo that? Yeah, I think I did. I'm certain I soloed that. And then 010 was Midgard Stormer. No. You'd have to kill it so quick in order for that to be soloed. Because as soon as he dooms you, you're doomed. 011 soloed. 012, the second phase. The first phase is just a matter of stats. That might be a 7.0 solo. Now, thinking into Shadowbringers, Eden, maybe Warrior. I'd have to check the Tank Buster timings, but if anyone, Warrior could probably do it. Actually, it's not the Tank Buster times I'm worried about. It's the lasers. Yeah, Eden Prime might be kind of tough. I think E2 can definitely be soloed if you can survive. Oh, no, if you fail... Does that have thrice come ruin? I don't think... Do the towers in E2 have... If towers in E2 just have like a stacking like infirmity or whatever it is, those might be doable if they don't do much damage. E3 Leviathan? Yeah, I don't see why Tsunami would be a problem, in all honesty. And that's the only thing that comes to mind there, unless I'm forgetting some. Oh, you know what? Maybe the very end of the fight. I don't know how... it looks... I don't know, because you could invuln that. Yeah, it might be fine. Yeah, E3 as well. E4... I forget where I die on E4 now. I think it's the second Stone Crusher that gets me at the moment. I'd have to double check. Because I've soloed a decent bit of E4, but it definitely has like... Oh, you need to kill it before the jails. Yeah, no, until you can kill it before... That's going to be like when we're way overpowered. That one gets soloed. E5 Ramu... No, because, well, if you can survive the towers exploding, because you need to be able to stop the knockback, which means you can't do the tower breaking, but you can then, I'd assume, make it so you only get hit by one tower? No, you get hit by at least a few, so I don't know that that's going to work either. E6, I don't know. There's a few question marks in that one, but I think that one might be doable. E7 is the birds. Can the birds be done? Yeah. No, I guess it depends on if you can survive the towers exploding at the end. I think that's... Oh, the ad phase is going to screw you there too. Yeah, that would be tough. You'd have to be pretty strong to do that. E8, I think ad phase instantly KOs you. I don't think you can do ad phase with one person, period. E9... is Cloud of Darkness. If you killed her before the towers later in the fight, maybe, because I don't think her getting the damage ups is going to instantly mean you game over in the other phase. And you wouldn't get any tethers because you'd be alone. So yeah, you could just run around and Oh, but I think the stack spreads. You'll get 8 of them on you at once. So I think that would kill you. It's been a while since I've done it. E10 is Void. Oh, yeah, I don't think that's... I don't know. I think most of Shadowbringers is going to be kind of fucked. All right, and I think that covers every question. I answered them as quickly as I possibly could, although I kind of forgot I was trying to answer them quickly towards the end there, but that's A-okay. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and ask your questions in the comment section of the video for next week's video. I said that weird. Don't forget, we have the live letter coming this week on top of some other stuff that I've got planned for the YouTube channel. Keep an eye out for some sponsored videos for... well, anything at all. Just enjoy the content, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, with that, I'll see you all in the next one. And until then, take care.